What's going on, guys? Chase with iDub Hockey, hanging out today with Kyle Jacobs, who's the assistant brand manager of skates for Bauer Hockey. Kyle, we have your really updated and really cool new line of runners in front of us today. Let's start with the newest, the latest and greatest. It's something that everyone's going to be talking about for quite some time is the LS CarbonLite. So tell me about maybe the origins and the goal of this runner, and then we'll hop into the specific tech and spec later.
Absolutely. So for any of those gear nerds out there, they may recognize some similarities between this particular steel and our Odin project a few years back. So what we learned with the Odin project, we were tampering with, how do we make anything below the boot more or better on performance? What do those properties allude to, or what do those enhancements become, as we make those tweaks and changes? So what we've been able to do is introduce our LS CarbonLite runner, and the composition of it is essentially it's a steel lower portion, so traditional sharpening and profiling, but it's a carbon upper portion. So you think of where that injects into the holder there and secures for that fit. The carbon area helps us reduce a lot of weight, a significant amount of weight, 35% lighter than our traditional steel with the Pulse and the Pulse TI. But it also increases our torsional flex. So if you think of like in terms of sticks, sticks are designed to flex and recoil back to their original state. The CarbonLite acts the same way with that carbon upper bridge there. So what we've done is we've added a stabilizing spine to both the lateral medial side. You'll notice that as consumers see it in their hands. And what that does is it maintains our torsional flex property. So throughout, say general use of steel, players shift in weight from toe to heel. But what we see here on the CarbonLite is that blade is actually allowed to flex a little bit during some of those stress times when you're skating, helping to maintain that blade contact.
And then for you, walk me through your experience getting to use it, maybe your first time, as well as getting a handful of skates in on it as well. How does it feel different from the traditional, Pulse or Pulse TI?
Absolutely. So I was skating on the Pulse TI prior to jumping into the CarbonLite. And I think the biggest factor to me was essentially just holding the two in my hand. When I was ready to slip that into my skates and give it a whirl, there was a big wow factor there. Like this runner is significantly light. So I clipped them in, I was laced up and ready to go. And I was just walking out to the arena, and I thought I had not put my runners into the skates. They felt so light on my feet. So I had to do a double take and look down to make sure I had them in there. But like I said, with anything that changes, in your gear or in your game, it takes about, a skate or two just to get comfortable with it again. And I really like the performance benefit. You definitely notice the flex and the bite, through those stressful turns, those quick stops and starts. It performed phenomenal, and really impressed with it.
Now, the Pulse TI and the Pulse, they're no slouch either. Those were definitely a big step forward for Bauer last year. So let's walk through what has made these two sets of steel, very popular in their own right, and likely a choice that the more traditional, never change hockey players are probably going to go with.
Absolutely. So we'll start with the Pulse. One of the big things that we heard from the marketplace, from everybody was, we need a better steel quality. It needs to be able to sharpen, to hold the edge, to perform on ice. So we looked at it, we revamped it, and we started with the Pulse. What we've completed on this skate, or this runner, is we've got a high polish mirror finish on that outside edge. So what that actually does for us is it creates a better glide surface. So you think of the skaters that, maybe generally on a shallower hollow, they get out there, they make a few strides, they're reading the play, they prefer that glide property. That Pulse is the way to go. And then we've also got the other end too, with the Pulse TI. So we look for players that, need that edge retention or really want that bite. How can we maintain, that quality of steel over a longer period of time? And what we've done is we've put a coating on there. So it's a titanium coating on the outside of the steel that helps maintain that edge retention. And again, with the high quality innards, essentially, those materials on the inside make for sharpening very, very easy, but also make for blade maintenance instead of not needing it as much.
Right. And of course, a couple extra style points with that black runner and the Pulse TI.
Absolutely.
Now, last year we saw a couple of the Supreme skates with the TI and Pulse runners come with custom profiles on them. As far as the stock offerings go this year, what do each of the three price points come with?
Absolutely. So on our Vapor lineup, we're actually using the same geometry as the aftermarket steel currently in market. So those Pulse and Pulse TIs. So those will be on the 10-foot generic profile. Essentially, they're ready to receive, a custom profile if a player has, a preference in mind, and that CarbonLite will match. So all of our aftermarket and then all of our new launching on skate will have the same profile, like I said, with that 10-foot generic profile, unless otherwise stated on the steel itself. Some of our juniors may have a 13-foot balance, or some of the rec levels.
Right. But if you are looking for a custom Pro Sharp radius and you're shopping with Ice Warehouse, make sure you go through that checkout process, as you are able to get that through iDub. But Kyle, I do want to say for you, thank you so much for walking us through the really exciting new line this year. And I'm really looking forward to trying out that CarbonLite myself.
Awesome. Thanks for having us, Chase.
All righty. And then for you at home that want to check out all 3 price points from Bauer Hockey, make sure you head over to icewarehouse.com.